Why does your chest tighten over a conversation that never happened? Why can your stomach turn over an argument you only rehearsed in your head while washing dishes? In this video, I'll reveal 5 scenarios where this quietly takes over a person's life and what it's actually doing to them. Let me start with something most people have never been told plainly. Your brain does not have a clean separation between what is happening and what you are vividly imagining. When you picture a confrontation in detail, the tone of voice, the look on the face, the words being said, your body releases the same stress chemistry it would release if that confrontation were happening in the room. Cortisol, adrenaline, elevated heart rate, muscles tightening. The nervous system is not running a fact check, it is running on the images you feed it. This is well established in stress neurobiology. The amygdala, the small almond-shaped structure in the brain that scans for threat, responds to a clearly imagined danger almost the same way it responds to a real one. And once it fires, it pulls the rest of the brain into its mood. The prefrontal cortex, the part that thinks clearly and weighs evidence, gets quieter. The part that simulates and worries gets louder, which means a person sitting alone on a couch, imagining a fight with someone who is not even in the country, is paying the full biological cost of an event that is not occurring. Now hold that fact in your hand, because almost every form of fake scenario thinking we are about to walk through is built on top of it. There is a name for the more extreme version of this pattern. The psychologist Eli Sommer at the University of Haifa first described it in 2002 and called it maladaptive daydreaming. Extensive, vivid, immersive fantasy that begins to replace real life. Not the harmless drift of the mind on a long bus ride. Something more compulsive, hours lost, real conversations missed, real opportunities deferred. The mind preferring the inner film to the outer world. Most people who imagine fake scenarios do not have that clinical form, but almost everyone has tasted a milder version of it. And that mild version, repeated for years, quietly shapes a life. Let me show you the 5 places it shows up most. The first one is the imagined argument. You are driving home, or in the shower, or staring at the ceiling, and you start mentally fighting with someone. Sometimes it is someone you love. Sometimes it is someone who hurt you years ago. Sometimes it is a stranger who only said one cold sentence. You play their part, you play yours, you sharpen your comebacks, you imagine their face when you finally win. Watch what is actually happening inside you. Your jaw is tight, your shoulders are up, your breath is shallow. Your body has entered the room you only built in your head. And when the fantasy ends, the residue does not. You carry into your real day a tension that came from a war that was never declared. The cost most people never notice is this. You did not just imagine that argument once. You trained your brain to associate that person with conflict. The next time you actually see them, the body remembers a fight that never happened, and you walk in already defensive. The fake scenario becomes the foundation of a real one. The second pattern is the rehearsed disaster. This is the future tense version. You are going to a job interview, or making a phone call, or sending a message. And before you arrive, you have already lived through every way it could humiliate you. The cracked voice, the rejection, the pity in their eyes, the walk back to the car. You have not lived the event yet, but you have already lived its destruction. Psychologists call the core mechanism here catastrophizing. The term came out of cognitive therapy, taught for decades by Albert Ellis and Aaron Beck, and the mechanism is simple. The brain takes a single uncertain situation and skips every moderate possibility in between, jumping straight to the worst outcome. Then it treats that worst outcome as the most likely one. What most people don't realize is the body cost. The presentation that is still 2 weeks away has already cost you sleep tonight. The conversation you have not had yet has already raised your blood pressure today. You are not preparing. You are practicing pain in advance. You are paying for an event in full before life has even sent you the bill. And quite often, the bill never comes at all. If you appreciate this teaching so far, please take a moment to like this video and subscribe. It helps our channel to grow. The third pattern is the romantic fantasy that quietly replaces real intimacy. This one is more disguised. Someone builds in their head an entire relationship with a person, a coworker, a stranger across a coffee shop, an old name from years ago, sometimes someone who barely knows their name. They imagine the conversations, the trips, the arguments and the reconciliations, the wedding, the small home they would share. It feels harmless. It is not. Because every hour spent inside that perfectly edited fantasy is an hour the real human heart is not learning what it needs to learn. How to be patient with a flawed person, how to handle disappointment, how to be present in an imperfect conversation. The fantasy version never disappoints, so the real version, when it comes, feels unbearable. Researchers studying immersive fantasy have noticed something striking. Heavy daydreamers often report that real relationships feel flat in comparison to the ones in their heads. That is the trap. You can become so good at writing love stories in your mind that no real person can audition for the role. The fourth scenario is the most painful one to name. It is the imagined betrayal. You start picturing the person you love lying to you. You picture them with someone else. You picture the secret conversation, the unread message, the door closing quietly behind them. And the more you picture it, the more your body believes it has already happened. You did not catch them in anything. There is no evidence. But your nervous system has now been bathed in the chemistry of betrayal for days. So when they walk in the door, smiling, perfectly innocent, you are cold, you are short, you are watching them. This is one of the cruelest things imagined scenarios can do to a real life. They poison rooms that are not actually poisoned. They make a person punish their partner for crimes their partner never committed. And the partner, of course, has no idea why the temperature in the house just dropped. So they pull back, and the pulling back becomes new evidence for the imagined story. And now the story is writing itself into reality. There is a Proverbs line, old as anything, that says to guard your heart, because everything you do flows from it. Modern psychology is only now catching up to why that instruction matters so much. The thoughts you let live rent-free in your mind are not silent tenants. They are renovating the house. The fifth pattern is the one most people miss entirely. It is the fantasy life that quietly substitutes for the real one. The career imagined in detail but never started. The book pictured on the shelf but never written. The conversation with the parent practiced in the head for years but never had. The apology rehearsed 1,000 times but never given. The version of yourself you can see clearly behind your eyes, walking around with confidence while the actual you sits still. What makes this pattern dangerous is that it feels like progress. The mind doing the imagining feels productive. You are seeing it. You are planning. You can almost touch it. But here is the mechanism nobody warned you about. The brain rewards vivid imagination of an achievement with a small dose of the same satisfaction it would give you for actually doing it. So the more vividly you picture the thing, the less hungry you are to go and do it. The fantasy is feeding the same need the real action would feed, without any of the cost, the risk, or the growth. You are not getting closer. You are getting full. And full people do not move. Now look at all 5 of these together. Imagined arguments, rehearsed disasters, invented romances, phantom betrayals, fantasy lives. They are not the same shape, but they share the same machinery. The mind alone generating events that are not happening. The body, faithful as ever, paying the price of those events as if they were. The most unsettling part of this whole pattern is not the fantasies themselves. It is the slow exchange. Hours of your real life traded for hours inside scenarios that will never come. Real conversations dimmed by imaginary ones. Real love thinned out by imaginary love. Real opportunities lost while you mentally lived through their imaginary versions. A whole human being slowly relocating from the world into a room in their own head, taking the lights with them. And what makes it so quiet, so easy to miss, is that none of it feels like a problem in the moment. It feels like thinking. It feels like preparing. It feels like just having an active mind. It does not feel like a life being slowly carried away. So here is the small thing to try this week. The next time you catch yourself building one of these scenarios, the argument, the disaster, the romance, the betrayal, the fantasy life, do not fight the thought. Do not shame yourself for it. Just name it out loud, even in a whisper. I'm building a scenario that is not happening. That one sentence is enough to wake the prefrontal cortex back up. It is enough to remind the body that the room is safe. It is enough to interrupt the loop, because a thought you do not catch will catch you. And a life lived inside imagined rooms is still a life unlived. The mind is a powerful place, but it was never meant to be lived in. It was meant to be used and then put down so the real day could begin. If you appreciate this video, please like, share and subscribe so you can grow with Steve.